सर कैमरा ऑन कीजिए, स्क्रीन शेयर कीजिए।
ओके आनंद जी,
बाद में 3 महीने का पहले लेगा तो 2-3 महीने बाद फिर ठीक है ना। ठीक है, मेरे को हर महीने करा।
सर स्क्रीन शेयर कीजिए।
जस्ट ए मिनट, मैं काफी देर से वेट कर रहा था।
जी
ठीक आनंद जी,
ठीक है सर, आप क्लास स्टार्ट कर सकते हो।
ओके थैंक यू।
गुड इवनिंग सर।
गुड इवनिंग, कैसे हो हर्ष?
बढ़िया सर, आप कैसे हो?
बढ़िया बढ़िया। स्टार्ट करें या वेट करें एक दो को और आने का?
आप जैसा ठीक समय सर।
चलो स्टार्ट कर लेते हैं, आप तो ज्वाइन कर ही चुके हैं। आई थिंक स्लाइड्स विजिबल होंगी आपको।
यस सर।
इंटरनेशनल बिजनेस स्ट्रेटजी, ओके। तो to connect with the last class, we have started unit 3rd, in which we have discussed about the different forms of international business, international trade and investment, different type of licensing arrangements. Today we are going to discuss the last topic of unit 3rd, which is transaction cost theories of the international business activity. So first one, let's recap in next 3 to 4 minutes about the last class. Then we will move on to our last topic of unit 3rd, which is with respect to the theories of international business. So in last class, we have discussed about the different international business models, forms of international business, including exporting, importing, licensing, franchisee, contract manufacturing, joint venture, or wholly owned subsidiaries, strategic alliance, turnkey projects. These all kind of business forms of business we have discussed in last class with lots of example, including McD or its KFC, Pizza Hut, Burger King, Starbucks, okay, Apple, Google. We have discussed in last class, and then we have discussed we discussed about the international trade and the investment dynamics with respect to globalization, with respect to the international business, in which the dynamics of international trade with respect to WTO agreements or IMF rules and guidelines. There are many unions like free trade agreements are there. So how these international trade uh, uh, include the investment point of view, trade policies and their implications, FDI, direct investment, indirect portfolio investment, in which uh, this strategy consideration in the trade and investment with respect to the market potential assessment, legal and regulatory environment framework to navigate and to understand completely cultural and ethical consideration. With respect to licensing arrangements, like with respect to using the name of brand name or patenting technology, in turn, companies get back royalty, fixed fee, and something both also types of licensing like technology, brand, copyright, franchisee, and again the examples with respect to licensing like Coca-Cola or Disney merchandise licensing or technology licensing like Microsoft to Lenovo, HP, or Dell companies. So these were the topics we have discussed in last class with respect to the international trades, forms of international trade, international business. So today we are going to discuss with respect to the theories of international business activity. So in your unit 3rd, one theory has been specifically mentioned, like transaction cost theory for business activity. So we will going to discuss that one particular theory in detail, concrete detail. But apart from that, before going to ahead to that particular topic, let's discuss about the theories of international business, the basics of theories of international business, and what are other theories which are there from past many decades when it comes to the international business or in terms of the international trade. So with respect to theory of international trade or international business, this is a pivotal component of the journey through the complex and multifaceted world of international business. It aims to provide you with a thorough understanding of the theoretical framework that underpin the global business landscape, offering the insights into the how business operate across borders and how nations engaged in trade and the investment across border apart from that particular host country. So how to understand the business landscape of another country, the strength, weakness of your country. There were theories in the international trade. Might be you have studied in maybe in your past semesters, like theory of comparative advantage or theory of absolute advantage, mercantilist theory, or there is one theory like all-in theory was there. So there were many theories with respect to the internationalization or international business. Apart from that, theory, transaction cost theory, comparative advantage theory, or eclectic paradigm is also there with respect to specifically with respect to the strategy of international business activity. These are some theories, classical theories based on classical countries based on the theories like mercantilism, absolute advantage, comparative advantage, HO theory, Hexner Holin theory, and these are some modern based theory like product life cycle, global strategic rivalry, country similarity, or portal national competitive advantage, which we have discussed in last class itself. Maybe theory of absolute advantage or competitive advantage or HO theory you might have come across in business environment, also might be international business environment topic subject maybe in your previous semester. If not, then I'm not going to discuss these theory in detail because our topic relate to the transaction cost theory basically. So, but just to name, so these all theories relate to the international trade or international business activities. So now come to specifically the theories with respect to transaction cost theory, which offer a lens to view the strategic decisions a company make to minimize cost and optimize the efficiency in the international trade. There is one another theory which is like comparative advantage theory. This theory has been developed by David Ricardo in early 19th century. This is a cornerstone of the international trade that explain how countries benefit from specializing in certain products or services. This theory provides a framework for understanding the dynamics of trade and the economic rationale behind it. As per this theory, the comparative advantage theory, suppose you have something good as compared to any other country. Like if we talk about India or China, we are labor-intensive country. If I talk about South Korea or Japan or USA, these are technological-driven company or countries or capital-driven countries. So if we have labor in abundance, then definitely here the business we will offer to the entire world based on the labor intensive activities only, like agriculture or construction or textile or manufacturing. When it comes to capital intensive countries like South Korea or Japan or Germany, France, United Kingdom or USA, so these countries they are capital intensive countries. There the capital is in abundant and technology is much advanced. So you will find companies or banks or investment firms or consulting firms or the companies into the service sector mainly not much activities with respect to the manufacturing sector as compared to India or China, which is a labor intensive country. So David Ricardo have concluded and theorized this on the basis of comparative advantage theory back into the early 19th century. But sometimes this theory fail also because if I talk about India again or China again, it's not like that we are entirely depend on labor intensive sectors. Here you will find sectors related to service also. Technology is also there, right? Like we are using technology left, right in many front. There is a incorporation of AI also nowadays in everything, yeah, including defense also. So this theory is not completely true with respect to the international activity or international trade. Next is the next to discuss is the eclectic paradigm. This is more comprehensive approach that is then examined to understand its application in the multinational enterprises. This paradigm combines various theories to explain how companies can effectively compete in a global arena. Like this theory has been developed by John Dunning in late 1970s, and this has emerged as a pivotal framework in understanding the multinational enterprises and their international operations. This paradigm, also known as OLI framework, in which O is ownership, L is localization, and I is the internationalization. So OLI framework, it integrates various theories of the international business to explain why companies become multinational and how they choose their modes of foreign operations. This theory include theory of comparative advantage, theory of absolute advantage, theory of mercantilism, theory of HO theory. Okay, apart from that, product life cycle theory. So this assert that a combination of ownership, localization, location, and internationalization advantage determine the extent and nature of a company's international activities. To discuss a example like Coca-Cola, they have internationalized their operations to protect their secret formula and ensure the consistency product quality worldwide on the basis of ownership, location, and the internationalization. This comparative advantage theory, as I have discussed, this is the absolute relative efficiency in production of goods or services, which is determined by the opportunity cost, the cost of not producing the next best alternative. Like I have discussed with respect to labor intensive or capital intensive, a country has a comparative advantage. This is also to discuss actually. This is apart from the absolute advantage theory. So a country has a comparative advantage in producing a good if it can produce it at a lower opportunity cost than its trading partners, like again India and China, with respect to labor intensive, with respect to manufacturing sector. The theory suggests that trade can be beneficial for countries even if one has an absolute advantage, can produce all goods more efficiently over another, as long as each country specialized according to its comparative advantage. So these are only a summary with respect to the theory of international business. Now we will discuss our main theory, which has been mentioned in your syllabus specifically, the transaction cost theory, which offer companies to minimize cost and optimize the efficiency in the international operations. So with respect to theory, transaction cost theory of international business activity, TCT, this is one of the most influential theories used to explain why firms expand internationally and how they decide the most suitable. So this theory specifically, fit into different criteria where there are some type of there are some types of cost which involve business. Some are upfront cost, some are latent cost, which are not visible on surface. Okay, but this the international business activities on the basis of some kind of cost. So this is the most influential theory used to explain why firms expand internationally and how they decide the most suitable mode of operating, including like joint venture or franchisee, or this licensing or wholly owned subsidiaries. Okay, why they choose and why they should go for that particular form of business. This theory was developed by economist Ronald Coase and later expanded by the Oliver Williamson. When expanding internationally, usually business face a variety of transaction costs, from finding a reliable suppliers and distributors to negotiate contract and ensuring the compliance with the local laws and the regulations. If I talk about the types of transaction cost with respect to this theory, like bargaining cost, policing and enforcement cost, transportation cost, transaction cost, search and information cost. Okay, so these are different type of cost which are associated with the activities of the international business. So that's why we are discussing this particular theory with respect to the international business activities. This is not a form, or this is not for the international trade, but this is specifically discussed in terms of the international business activity. So find the transaction cost, which include finding the reliable suppliers or distributors to the negotiating contracts, and ensuring the compliance with the local laws or policies or guidelines and the regulations. Every transactions involve certain type of cost. These are not only monetary cost, but also some hidden or the indirect cost, such as searching for the suppliers or the distributors, negotiating the contracts, monitoring the quality, enforcement of agreements, handling the disputes if any come in between, or some disputes arise in between doing the business, protecting the intellectual property, trade secrets, copyright, industrial safety, managing the uncertainty and the risk. So these are some kind of some cost which are monetary cost, but some cost which are not monetary, but these all costs are transaction cost for a international business activities. And this theory discuss about all these for the form of business. These are connecting, these all costs are connecting with the different type of form of business. As I discussed, like when we talk about franchisee or licensing, maybe for franchisee or licensing, you are not going to search for the suppliers or the distributor. You are just negotiating the contract, monitoring the qualities. Okay, maybe also you are not going to handle disputes 100% point of view. Protecting your intellectual property, maybe that's why you are going for licensing or franchisee. But when it comes to the wholly owned subsidiaries, maybe you have to do like all these kind of activities, like finding the reliable supplier or the distributor, or negotiating the contract, or monitoring the quality, enforcement agreement, registration with respect to the incorporation of company, handling disputes, also looking out of all the rules and regulations of that particular country, also protecting your intellectual properties, your trade secret, your copyright, patent. And also there are many uncertainty and risk involved when go for the wholly owned subsidiaries. So there are again when means with respect to the form of businesses, risk cost, they vary, and on the basis of that only you will choose which kind of form of business is suitable for you. And about all these form of businesses we have discussed in our last class in complete length, also in detail, with lots of examples. So these are some kind of transaction cost. So what are the essence of transaction cost? Basic to understand the theory. This theory argue that firm compare the cost of conducting transactions through the market versus the cost of conducting activities internally within the organization. So here, transaction cost include also some kind of processes, some kind of activities which you can do yourself without relying on other person or other or third parties, or what kind of activities you will hand over or to the third parties or outsource. So this is with respect to insourcing and outsourcing specifically. If the market transaction become expensive, risky, or uncertain, companies prefer internalization, meaning they perform activities themselves. Suppose if offering a franchisee or giving a license to the third party of that particular foreign country, if that become expensive, risky, uncertain, or maybe you are going to face many regulatory challenges of that particular foreign nation with respect to that particular foreign nation, or there are many risks involved, or there are uncertainty, then definitely you are going to opt all activities you will perform yourself. In international business, the transaction cost theory explains why multinational companies choose between exporting, licensing, franchising, joint venture, or a wholly owned subsidiaries when entering a foreign market, based on the these all kind of cost. And also, if this is a big, this is an expensive business or a risky business or uncertain, then definitely maybe you are not going to opt for licensing or franchisee, or maybe joint venture. You are going to be wholly owned. Okay, so these all we are going to discuss in subsequent slides also. That this choice often depends on which mode offer the lowest transaction cost and while still achieving the company's strategic objective. This is also most important. It's not only about thinking about the cost all the time. To achieve is the strategic objective of that particular firm, like profit maximization, sales maximization, okay, or increasing the market share, or to achieve the vision or mission of that particular company. And if that is possible in the lowest transaction cost, then definitely companies choose accordingly. But if because of any issue with respect to the transaction cost, if a company strategic objective is not meeting, or maybe there are some kind of issues arise, then company decide on what kind of form of business, including exporting, licensing, franchisee, joint venture, or wholly owned subsidiaries, that particular country, that particular company is going to adopt. So this become especially important in international business because operating across the countries increasing the complexity due to the main reasons which we need to discuss about the cultural differences, legal systems, political risk, currency fluctuation, and the communication barriers. So these all are kind of underlying issues where a company may choose on the basis of transaction cost that they should go for the form of business like exporting only, or they will adopt a licensing franchisee, because there is cultural differences among countries. Legal systems are vary from country to country. The laws, act, regulations, guidelines, policies, they vary country to country. Political risk also there. Like if I talk about India, India is a democracy. Here, the instability in terms of political point of view is much better as compared to any nation in the Middle East like Iran or Iraq, Libya, Syria, Lebanon, or Palestine. Okay, political risk, currency fluctuation, communication barriers, these are some issues. If I discuss the examples with respect to these cultural differences, I will discuss with respect to IKEA and Walmart also in next few slides. Okay, so first one, let's start about discussing one by one with respect to our transaction cost, about exporting, licensing, franchisee, joint venture, and then we will go on to discuss about the complexity issues or complexity which involve cultural differences, legal system, political risk, currency fluctuation, or the communication barrier. So transaction cost theory and international business, international market entry. The first one is the exporting, which is the first form of business, easy among all, and you have and investment point of view also, transaction cost also very low. Exporting typically involves the lower transaction cost as if it required less commitment and resources than the establishing a physical presence in the target market. However, indirect exporting through intermediaries can raise transaction cost due to the reduced control over the distribution process. So this is not like that only for exporting, if there is a lower transaction cost, but there are some kind of hidden issues also with respect to control, with respect to regulations over your suppliers, over your distributors, and with respect to quality, with respect to customer feedback, with respect to customer services. So these all issues also you are going to face. But if you discuss with respect to only one point like transaction cost, then definitely exporting is the best form of business to start with. This same strategy or same kind of form of business we have discussed in our last class also. So companies prefer exporting when where transaction costs are low. They are looking out that their cost should be minimum, product are standardized, and market are small or uncertain. Like for example, many Indian textile firms, they export the product through the foreign distributors rather than setting up a overseas factories, because you are in much better position to manufacture clothes here in your country, because like it's a jeans or a t-shirt or a shirt or any kind of other type of clothes. So you make here, and then you will sell, export, you will sell to the foreign countries, because maybe manufacturing that particular product or that particular cloth in that particular country may be a much costly business as compared to your home nation. So if I discuss with respect to textile firm, like you make here in India, or maybe if you belong to Bangladesh, in Bangladesh, or you belong to Vietnam or China or Taiwan, you make your clothes here in that particular nation, and then you will export it to the foreign nation. So this is the lowest. Involves the lowest transaction cost, and you do not have to take care about the regulations or rules or policies or acts of that particular nation where you are exporting in much detail as compared to franchisee, licensing, or wholly owned subsidiaries. Apart from that, you also do not have to care about the cultural differences in much again much detail. So exporting where your transaction costs are low and your targets are meeting, your strategic objectives are meeting, working in your particular home country, then you will export your manufacturing products, or you will offer the services from your home country only to the foreign nation. Second is to discuss, second form of discuss to discuss is licensing and franchisee on the basis of transaction cost theory. These methods offer incur lower transaction cost compared to setting up new operations. But if we compare it with exporting, definitely transaction cost is much high as compared to exporting, but low as compared to strategic alliance, joint venture, or a wholly owned subsidiaries in licensing and franchisee. Licensing allow foreign firms to use patent, trademark, technology in exchange of royalties, as we have discussed in last class also with respect to brand or merchandise or technology licensing. This method reduce the investment but create risk of intellectual property theft also. So here some risk with respect to IP related risk are there in licensing and franchisee. Franchising is common in service industries like food or hospitality, as we have discussed many examples with respect to franchisee, including Pizza Hut, Domino's, Burger King, KFC, and many more. For example, if a software company licenses its technology to another country where IP protection laws and acts are weak, or there are not much strong laws with respect to patent or copyright, then definitely local partners may copy the technology illegally, and maybe you will lose your business in that particular nation. So in this case, the firm avoid licensing when proprietary knowledge is highly valuable. With respect to licensing and franchisee agreements, this can lead to higher policing and enforcement cost also due to the challenges in monitoring and the controlling the operations from a distance. In case of franchisee, if quality control becomes difficult, companies may establish a company-owned outlet instead. So one more issue to discuss with respect to franchisee, which may be lead to a higher transaction cost, including quality. If I talk about all these distributors or franchisee models which these companies have adopted, including Haldiram or Pizza Hut again, Bikaner Wala, Sagar Ratna. So quality, when it comes to quality control, they control everything, because quality is the main parameter here. For example, to understand, suppose there is one outlet in Masuri, and some nonsense create some issues come arise there with respect to quality, with respect to that particular Domino's outlet. So that definitely will affect business in other area of other regions also of that particular nation. So here quality control with respect to product or services are when it become difficult, companies may establish their own company owned outlets also, instead of going for licensing and franchising. Third one to discuss is with respect to joint venture and the strategic alliance. These arrangements can help reduce the transaction cost by sharing the burden of investment and leveraging the local partners' market knowledge. Joint venture like Hero, Honda, Maruti, Suzuki. Okay, these companies have come into joint venture in India itself, like Escort or Kubota. Okay, Starbucks and Tata. We have discussed about the joint venture with respect to Tata and Starbucks. So these here the transaction cost will reduce because you are coming up with the joint venture with another organization. Okay, and then you are going to leverage the local partners market knowledge, like if I talk about Hero and Honda. Hero is an Indian company, was an Indian company. Honda was a South Korean company. Okay, they come into an agreement and then they start business here in India. Apart from that, if I talk about, sorry, might be Honda is not a South Korean company, it's Japanese company. If I talk about Maruti Suzuki, Maruti again, Indian company, Suzuki, they are Japanese. Okay, Tata and Starbucks. Starbucks is a USA based company. Tata is a Indian company. So these joint ventures are very important when you want to leverage the local partners or that particular country, companies for the market knowledge. So joint venture involves the shared ownership between foreign and the local firms like Vodafone or Idea. Companies choose this option when local knowledge is very important, government require the local participation, and risk needed to be shared. For example, many automobile companies entering India initially form the joint venture with the Indian firm. However, conflict between parties may increase the transaction cost over time. They can also lead to higher bargaining and decision cost as they involve coordination and the cooperation with the another party. As to discuss a case with you, with all of you, like when it comes to the Vodafone and Idea joint venture, it took almost 2 years because Vodafone and Idea they were into negotiation with respect to the share price and the profit which they are going to distribute after coming into the joint venture. So there were some issues with respect to the coordination and the cooperation when means with respect to Vodafone and Idea, and that's why it took almost 2 years for them to finalize it. Also, here in India, there is one act, Competition Commission Act, is there, in which a commission like Competition Commission of India is also there, which definitely study these kind of joint venture and strategic alliances, so that it would not affect negatively the customer of that particular nation. Specifically, if I talk about Commission of India with respect to Indian customers. So also because of these reasons, because of the coordination, because of the cooperation, that particular that particular issue have come and have taken around 2 years. Thus, a joint venture between the Vodafone and Idea. Now, next come the fourth one, the form of business, wholly owned subsidiaries. Establishing a wholly owned subsidiaries offer the highest level of control with respect to quality, with respect to intellectual property, patent, copyright, and potentially reducing the policing and the enforcement cost. This involves the complete ownership and the control. Companies prefer this mode when intellectual property is valuable, quality control is very critical, opportunism risk are high, and long-term strategic control is needed. So here, companies they go for wholly owned subsidiaries when quality control is a issue, or intellectual property is a issue, or when company want to exploit as at maximum in a very short period of time with respect to opportunism. So they then company go for the wholly owned subsidiaries. Here the transaction cost is highest because a company have to incorporate from the scratch into the foreign nation. Like to discuss the examples, like Tesla, they prefer the strong control over technology and operations, and making wholly owned facilities more attractive in many market. Tesla maybe are not going to come with the joint venture with any other, maybe in India or in any nation all over the world, because they prefer the with respect to technology, operations, and the intellectual property, with respect to the development of batteries or fleet or any other many other things with respect to like software or semiconductors which they are using in Tesla cars. So they prefer strong control over the technology. Although costly, these modes minimize the dependency on the external parties. This mode often involves the significant upfront investment. Investment is very high when we talk about transaction cost, and high search and the information cost is there, especially in the unfamiliar market. When you are going to start business in a very new market or the market which is not familiar, you are not familiar, well familiar actually. So definitely you have to invest, you have to search out about the suppliers, distributors, or about the raw materials. Okay, with respect to raw material packaging, many processes you have to start from zero. Or maybe you have to look out what is best for you and what will work out for your organization. So these all will definitely add to the investment to the ad. So upfront investment and high search and information cost is high when we talk about the wholly owned subsidiaries. Okay, now to discuss the application of the transaction cost theory with respect to international business strategy in strategic decision making. This apply transaction the transaction cost theories company must assess both internal and external factors. Internally, the firm's resources, expertise, and the strategic goal play a crucial role in determining the most cost-effective mode of entry. Externally, market dynamics, legal and regulatory environments, and the availability of reliable partners are critical. Transaction cost theory is extremely important because it helps managers to decide whether to outsource or internalize on the basis of transaction cost, on the basis of expertise, on the basis of quality control, on the basis of regulations or the intellectual property. Which foreign entry mode to select, like exporting, joint venture, strategic alliance, wholly owned subsidiaries, or licensing. How much control is required, whether partnership are beneficial or not, how to protect technology and intellectual property. So these all points are very important to discuss when you are going to do business in any other nation, in a foreign nation. So you should choose between outsourcing and internalize the processes, entry mode, control, partnership, and technology and intellectual property. So to understand about all these parameters, the transaction cost theory is helpful. For instance, to understand a technology company with unique intellectual property might prefer a wholly owned subsidiaries to safeguard its assets, accepting the higher initial cost for the greater long-term control, like Tesla or maybe Google. Okay. Conversely, if a consumer goods company like Hindustan Unilever or Nestle, they're looking to quickly enter a market with lower risk, might opt for franchisee or licensing, like these food segment, food restaurant segment companies also. So they will quickly enter into the market because this has a lower risk and not going to start from zero or wholly owned subsidiaries. But a technological company, they will definitely, because of intellectual property issues, they will start and they will go for the wholly owned subsidiaries as compared to, or maybe it's for joint venture and this strategic alliance. So let's discuss two cases with respect to transaction cost theory. One is Starbucks with respect to international market. Starbucks, they adapt its strategy based on the market conditions. In some countries, Starbucks use joint venture because local market knowledge is essential. As we discussed, like Starbucks in India, they partners in India with Tata because Tata understood the Indian consumer behaviors and they have strong supply chain and the knowledge of regulations, rules of Indian act or Indian guidelines, they know very well. So this helped them to reduce the transaction cost related to market research. suppliers identification, and the regulatory navigation. So at the same time, Starbucks maintained the sufficient control over the brand quality. Second is Apple internalization strategy. Apple incorporate tightly control the product design, software ecosystem, and branding like Tesla. Okay, and that's because of that reason, intellectual property and innovation are the core strategic assets of Apple. Or maybe if I talk about a company like Samsung, so outsourcing too much would increase the opportunism, risk, and leak confidential technology. So Apple internalize the critical functions like with respect to research and development or product design or software design, software development. Okay, so critical functions to reduce the transaction cost and maintain specifically the quality. So that was with respect to the transaction cost theory. The significance of transaction cost theory with respect to the form of businesses, how what kind of form of business, international business involve the transaction cost. This entirely depend on the strategic objective of the company. And the last one to discuss is the challenges with respect to the transaction cost analysis. So one of the challenges in applying the transaction cost theory is difficulty in accurately measuring and predicting the cost itself, which is the basic parameter. If you are not aware like how much cost you are going to incur with respect to searching the suppliers or distributors, or there are some issues with respect to regulatory related or branding issues. So if you are not aware about the cost separately, then that might be a challenge for a company to adopt the kind of businesses they want to venture out into the foreign nation. Factors such as political stability, economic conditions, and cultural differences, they can also significantly impact the actual cost. Because as we have discussed, there are some costs which are upfront, which you can measure, but there are many things which you can't measure directly, like cultural differences. Okay, if there is some kind of issues arise or economic conditions, deteriorate. Okay, like any kind of war escalate, then these kind of issues you are not well aware. So here actual cost might be go higher, so you are not aware completely about the actual cost. Furthermore, the dynamics nature of the international market means that transaction cost can change over time because of these issues like political instability, or because of the economic or economic recession, or because of the cultural differences. So necessitating continuous reassessment of the market entry strategy. So this is very important, so that it's not like one size fit of all theory apply here. You have to understand the dynamics of international business, the issues which arise, you solve them, and you are well aware, or you will study deeply about the issues like with respect to GDP, or per capita income, or rate of inflation, employment rate, also political stability, and you maybe adjust yourself as per the requirement of the business. Like if I talk about Ford, they have started business in India. They start manufacturing here in India, but once upon a time they felt that maybe they are not able to manufacture here, and maybe the cost is very high. So they exit this market in the year 2019 itself. So Ford, which is a biggest company, one of the biggest company of USA, they start business in India, a well-known automobile company, but they exit here because of the dynamic nature of the international business, because of the market, because of the transaction cost which involves. Okay, so there are these some challenges also. Also, this heavily focus on the cost minimization, and sometimes we ignore. Means if we focus more on the transaction cost, then definitely innovation, organizational learning, relationship, trust, cultural cooperation, and long-term advantage strategically a company might be miss. Okay, so if a company want to work out, if they want to work on the product life cycle, if they want to innovate new products, if they want to create new business models, okay, if they want to empower their employees also, and they focus on the relationship with their customer, long term relationship, or if they focus on for the trust among their customers, then definitely entirely thinking on the transaction cost itself might be a challenge for that particular organization. So these are some challenges with respect to the transaction cost analysis. So that's all with respect to the unit third. And let's take 15 minutes break. Then we will start our unit 4 today. Any question with respect to transaction cost or unit third topics?
No, sir. कोई question नहीं.
Okay. So let's break for 10 minutes. We will meet again at 8:05, and then we will start our unit 4. Okay. Hello. Hello, Payal. Are you able to listen to me? Slides are visible to you? Okay, so let's start now. Unit 4. In Unit 4, we are going to discuss about the competency building for going global. When a company is going to expand for the international business, whether it's exporting, joint venture, strategic alliance, or maybe any other form of business or for international trade. So then there is some kind of competency that company employees should know with respect to cultural sensitivity or with respect to rules, regulations of the foreign nation. Apart from that, quality control and maybe many other things which we are going to discuss in this unit 4. Apart from that, the cross-cultural management issues maybe arise because of the cultural sensitivity, because of the cultural differences, and sharing the competency across the border, transfer pricing issues, and expatriate managements related issues. So in Unit 4, we are going to discuss with respect to the human point of view, human resource point of view, employee point of view, and the cultural differences, how to mitigate them, how to reduce them as much as possible, so that the issues which will arise maybe while doing the business in a foreign nation, they would come minimum. So let's discuss with our let's start with our with the Unit 4, the first topic, competency building for going global. This is the only topic which we are going to discuss today, and remaining in next class next week. Okay. So if I talk about the competency building for going global, this refer to the process through which a company develop the capabilities, required skills, systems, resources, and the organizational mindset that might be required to operate successfully in international market. Here, the kind of capabilities, the kind of employees, the kind of technology systems, resources a company need, that is much important. Apart from the form of business which a company choose on the basis of transaction cost or on the basis of some kind of strategic objective. So when a business expand beyond its domestic boundaries, it faces a completely different business environment, which include the cultural diversity, legal systems, international international competitions, sorry, foreign customer expectations, currency fluctuation, supply chain complexity, supply chain issues, and the global technological change. So these different kind of differences may arise, which can be related to culture or competition, foreign customer expectations, which may be vary from country to country. Also depends on which country you are exporting. Maybe this is a poor country or a developed nation or a developing nation. So merely having a good product is not enough for a company to become an international successful company. A company must build strong competencies that enable it to compete effectively on a global scale. So companies that fail to build a international competency with respect to the capabilities required or skills, systems, resources, organization, they often struggle with the market adaptation into the foreign nation, operational inefficiencies, cultural misunderstandings, and the strategic failure, which eventually lead to the failure of that particular organization. So, knowing about all these things and to understand the nitty-gritty and the differences between the nations, okay, the way they working, the mindset of people, that is very necessary for a company to become a successful organization in the international arena. On the other hand, if we discuss firms that systematically build these global competencies, they may create a sustainable competitive advantage, and they may establish a long-term success in a foreign market. So these if these two examples, these two cases I would like to share with you before going ahead, as I have means discuss these in unit third also. The last topic which we have discussed maybe half an hour before with respect to Walmart and IKEA. Like Walmart, they succeed enormously in the United States due to its low cost retailing strategy and the large store format. Okay, Walmart is the one of the successful company when we talk about USA, in when we talk about logistic management, supply chain management, when we talk about any retail company, this company is in the forefront. But when it comes to working in Germany, when they enter Germany, they struggled because German customers, consumers, they prefer the smaller neighborhood stores, and they were not comfortable with the Walmart customer service style, such as smiling greetings by the employees. Okay, and apart from that, there are many underlying issues also there, because Germans, they do not prefer a big retail house. They prefer their neighborhood store. They prefer their neighborhood shop as compared to a big retail outlet like Walmart. So that's why they failed into Germany, which is a itself a developed country. But Walmart was not able to replicate the success which they gain into the United States, and eventually they exit Germany because they lack the sufficient understanding of the local consumer behavior, the demand of the local consumers, and maybe they were not able to meet the requirement with respect to the mindset actually, like the neighborhood stores. And in contrast, IKEA, which is a Sweden-based company, they carefully studies the local lifestyle before entering a market. Like in India, IKEA introduced smaller furniture size and products suitable for the compact apartments. And because of that, Indian urban homes, they are generally smaller as compared to Western homes. So because of that, means they develop competency as per the requirement of the local consumer, as per the requirement of the local the behavior of that particular customer of nation, including India. So this shows how competency in the international market understanding is very important when it comes to going a global success actually. So these two examples, they are I have discussed with respect to Ford. Okay, they exit from the Indian market because they were not able to manage the cost here because of the regulatory issues, and because of they were not able to again replicate the success which they achieved in the United States into India. Even though they worked here for almost 20 years, but at last they exit from here. And even if we compare the new entrant into the mobile automobile sectors like Kia or MG Hector, they are doing much better even though in some arena. But Ford, which is the biggest, one of the biggest company at that time, biggest automobile company, they wind up from here. One more example to discuss with respect to Indian perspective is Xiaomi. Xiaomi, they started well. They have a big basket with respect to the products. They have all kind of product. And they are offering those product, including smartphone or robots, humanoids, and these Xiaomi cars also. Okay, in terms of electronics, they have electronics in they have TV, refrigerator, washing machine also. But in China, they are offering. They start in India with smartphone, and they when they were on the border of becoming a big company, there's some issues with respect to the tax related. Okay, because ED they visit they raid their office in Bangalore, and ED the enforcement directorate of India, they find out that there is some kind of gap related to the tax evasion, around 5,000 crore. Okay, So eventually, after that, they were not able to sustain at that much scale when they started in India. And right now, they are offering just few products. They are not able to offer the complete basket which they are offering in China. So to understand the business with respect to the foreign nation, to understand the local consumer behavior, local customer, the cultural differences, apart from that, rules, regulations with respect to taxation, with respect to doing the business, environmental laws, that is very important. And related to developing the competency related to all these aspects also very important when a company is going global or when they are adopting a globalization strategy to expand into the foreign countries apart from the host nation. So to discuss about the global competency, first one, what are the global competencies? Firstly, we will discuss it. Then we will move on to the different kind of global competency which needed, and the training and the development also with respect to the global competency. So global competencies, these refer to the skills, knowledge, and attributes that individuals and the organizations need to navigate the complexities of international business successfully. These competencies, they enable individuals to function effectively in a diverse cultural and geographical context, like cultural awareness, adaptability, global communication, problem solving, and the global market knowledge. Like first one, cultural awareness and understanding of different cultures, norms, values, and communication style is very essential for building the relationship and conducting business across border. Adaptability, the ability to adapt to new environment, new market, and the situations which may be arise in that particular nation. This is very crucial in the rapidly changing global economy. Global communication, effective cross-cultural communication skills, non-verbal communication, understanding the pronunciation of the foreign nation, okay, the language, that can include the communication skill also include like proficiency in the multiple languages. These are very vital for conveying the ideas correctly, effectively, effortlessly, and building the partnership internationally. Problem solving, global competencies include the capacity to address the complex challenges, marked informed decisions, and resolve the conflict in a multicultural setting. And the fifth one is the global market knowledge, a deep understanding of the international market, trade regulations, and the global economic trend is also essential for the strategic decision making. So these are the competencies which maybe a company needed to understand the cultural differences, the norms, the values, the communication styles, okay, with respect to the adaptability with the new environment, new market, about the new customer, the behavior of those new customers, communication skills, problem solving, and the global market knowledge. So let's discuss them in detail with respect to maintaining all these global competencies. So first one, to building the competencies for the international expansion is the cultural sensitivity. This is most important to discuss because in many for many companies, means many companies, they fail to understand the cultural sensitivity, the local requirement like Walmart, and they fail big. Okay, and because of that, they had to wind up from that particular foreign nation. So cultural sensitivity, employees should be trained in the cross cultural communication, negotiation, and etiquettes to foster the positive relationship with the international partners and the customers. Like to discuss the example, when we talk about Japanese, they are more, they are not that much friendly. They are not that much introvert, sorry, extrovert as compared to Americans. Okay, apart from that, they respect each other. The communication is more formal as compared to America, where the communication is informal. You do not say each and every words, like they do not prefer short forms like hey, hi, hello. Okay, so the communication should be formal when a person is dealing with a Japanese customer or a Japanese person, or when they are venturing into into the Japan. Like if I discuss about the South Korea or Saudi Arabia, again the difference is there with respect to the culture. In Saudi Arabia, if I discuss like Saudi Arabia, Libya, Iraq, Iran, UAE, okay, Qatar, in these countries mainly the decision making is with the male of the family members. Okay, so here the strategy companies, they develop the marketing strategy, advertisement they develop, they usually keep the men of the family in into the mind, because because the family, the females of these nations, they are they're not that much active when it comes to the decision making. They are not into the bargaining, they are not into the negotiating position, and maybe they are not even means even communicating with the company customer, or with the company the employees. So mainly in these nations like Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, Iran, Iraq, here man is the main decision maker. So companies have to understand means in which country they need to means market or advertise themselves as per the requirement or as per the need. The process is formal or is informal. So they need to understand that the basic the understanding should be live with the employees of that particular company, how they train their employees to understand the cross cultural communication, the negotiation skills and the etiquettes, so that this will eventually foster the positive relationship with the international partners, the customers also. So culture can affect the communication, negotiation style, leadership practices, employee expectations, marketing appeals or advertisements, or even the purchasing behavior of the customer. So companies, when going global, they must train their employees, managers to work across culture, and the cultural intelligence will help businesses to avoid the misunderstanding and build the strong international relationship. Like, to discuss the example, in Japan, business meetings often emphasize the patience, relationship building, and the consensus decision making. Here, the process is more formal in comparison to the American. Like in America, the business culture tend to focus on the speed, direct communication, and the individual decision making. If an American company negotiate in Japan using the aggressive or highly direct methods, it may damage the relationship into the long run. So the successful multinational corporations therefore provide the cross-cultural training to their employee. That's why when means a employee, or maybe if a leader of a country, they visit to the another country, they know in which country they are allowed to handshake with the women's, or in which country they are allowed to even handshake sometime. Like in Japan, people usually do not handshake, they bow down in front of their seniors or in front of the elders. But in America, there is no difference like that. Even if you are a 15-year a person of 20 years age of a boy, they can handshake with a 70-year-old person. In India also, there are some kind of formal setting when it comes to the family, but when it comes to the companies, there might be you can talk directly with the person, with the your senior, if it's in 50s or 60s. Okay, but in Japan, that is not allowed at all. So in again, if I discuss out these Middle East countries, here you will not find any women on the table. So even though when the state president or the leader of that particular nation, they are meeting, they eventually reframe themselves to handshake with the women of that these countries specifically, not to mention any specific country, but more mainly in the Middle East nations. So to understand the cultural sensitivity, that is most important when it comes to the going global, when it comes to the globalization or doing business for the international trade. Second is to understand or to building the competency with respect to the technological capabilities. Competency building for going global also involves the technological capabilities. In today's digital economy, companies need advanced technological systems to and operations across nations, across countries. International business require the integrated communication system, data management, online collaboration, digital marketing, cybersecurity, global supply chain management. Technology allow multinational firms to manage operation efficiently despite the geographical distance. Like there are many companies, they use softwares, the software which offered by Oracle or IBM or maybe from India, Infosys or TCS or Wipro. So these companies, they integrate these softwares, the systems for data management, collaboration, marketing, cybersecurity, and maybe many other applications. So one should know about these technological systems also. Like the Amazon, they demonstrate this competency very effectively. Its global operations depends on the sophisticated logistical system, artificial intelligence, cloud computing, customer analytics, and the automated warehouses. Without technological competencies, managing millions of international transactions, even billions of international transactions in a year, that is not possible humanly, okay, and manually. So, and that's why the deliveries Amazon have make possible, okay, because of the technological competencies they have and their employees also. Similarly, to discuss with respect to Indian IT companies like Infosys and TCS, they have built the strong technological competencies because before expanding globally, and their expertise in the software development, digital transformation, and the project management enabled them to serve the international clients successfully, including America or European nations. Third point is the human resource competency. Managing employees across countries is far more complex than managing a domestic workforce. And this is the also main issue when a company going global, when a company adopt globalization, they are going to face. International companies must deal with the diverse labor laws, compensation system, work ethics, leadership expectations. Like in India, earlier there were only 3 month maternity leave. Earlier there were the minimum wages act is different, but now there has been changes into the maternity leave, okay, about the child care leave, paternity leave. Apart from that, the minimum wage system, labor laws, they have changed recently in 2026 itself. So competency with respect to the laws, with respect to the system, compensation system, work ethics, code of conduct, okay, that is also most important. Like for example, Google hire employees from different nationalities and backgrounds and promote an inclusive organizational culture. These also provide flexibility, innovation-driven environments, and global collaborations opportunities. Such practice help attract and retain the international talent. Similarly, multinational firms, they often expatriate to foreign subsidiaries. These expatriate require training in language, culture, and the international management before being assigned overseas. Okay, so those managers or those persons who are going to work into different nations, they need to understand the cultural sensitivity about the language differences, and they manage appropriately with the differences among the the culture with respect to the foreign nation. So they should be trained appropriately so that there should not be any issue a company going to face. Next is innovation capability. Going global is where companies they feel they face the competition which is very intense. Companies must continuously innovate to survive, and firms operate internationally face competitors from the various countries, each bringing different technology and the business models. Like to discuss with respect to this a smartphone market, like Samsung, which is a South Korean company, Xiaomi, Redmi, and this Vivo, Oppo, these are Chinese companies. Once upon a time, there is a company like Motorola was there, which is a again means a European based company. Okay, apart from that, Motorola was there. BlackBerry was there. Okay, which was based on America, and now Apple, which is again American based company. So these all companies, if I talk about BlackBerry and Nokia or Motorola, they failed big, even though at that time in the in the era like before 2010, these were some of the biggest company in terms of smartphone market. But now Samsung, Apple, Xiaomi, Vivo, Oppo, OnePlus, nothing. These companies they are doing very good. They are very because they survived somehow the competition that was there. Okay, so Nokia they failed, and that market has been overtaken by Samsung. Okay, so Nokia failed in India itself. Otherwise, in India, in anywhere you will go in your family or in your relatives or in your friend's house, you will find only Nokia phones. But now, means if we discuss, not only now actually, long back, 10, 20, 12 years itself, in the 2020, in the 2012, Samsung overtake all the markets because of the steep competition, because of the difference in the technology which Samsung was offering at that time as compared to Nokia. So these firms they operate internationally. They face competitors from the various countries, each bringing the different technology and the business models. Apple is one of the strongest example of innovation competencies. Its global success is not based only on the technology but also on the design innovation, ecosystem integration, and the branding and customer experience also. Similarly, Tesla transformed the automobile industry through electric vehicle innovation, advanced battery technology, and if I talk about pharmaceutical firms with respect to India, Sun Pharma, Dr. Reddy's, they have built strong R&D competencies to compete in the global healthcare market. Specifically with respect to USA, 50% of the medicines which are right now being sold in USA, they come they means export from India itself, and these Indian companies they are making and they are offering in USA. So these companies they are means they have built competency with respect to innovation, because they are able to provide the molecule, the medicines, the drugs in a very low cost as compared to the companies, the good brands like Abbott or GlaxoSmithKline or AstraZeneca. Next is the financial competency with respect to building competency for the international expansion. This is also very critical area. Global operations, they expose firms to a foreign exchange risk, international taxation, transfer pricing issues, varying interest rate, and the global investment decisions. So to understand the financial point of view is also important when it comes to defining the global competencies. Companies therefore require expertise in the international finance, risk management, and the poor financial management that may can result to the severe losses even if the product itself is a successful. Like I talk about Xiaomi, they failed and they find out into the tax evasion because they were not able to manage the taxation of our nation, and they failed miserably. And right now means they are not in that much position as compared to any other company into the smartphone market or into the electronic segment. Like for example, to discuss any other example, many export-oriented businesses they suffer losses due to the currency fluctuation. If an Indian exporter they receive payment in the US dollars, the rupee appreciate unexpectedly, the exporter's revenue in the rupee terms may decline. To manage such risk, companies use hedging techniques and financial forecasting. Like large multinational corporations such as Toyota and Samsung, they have maintained the strong international finances team to manage the global investment and the currency risk effectively. Next is the brand management competency. When we discuss about the brand management competency, global brands they must maintain the consistency while adapting to the local markets. Companies need expertise in the international advertisements, digital marketing, and the public relations, customer engagement. To discuss the example, like Coca-Cola, Nestle, and Pepsi is the perfect example to discuss with respect to the brand management competency. Hindustan Unilever also is there. the company maintain a consistent global brand identity while modifying the marketing campaigning according to the local culture. PNG Procter and Gambler is also one of the best company to discuss with respect to the advertisement or marketing. If I discuss Coca-Cola during festivals like Diwali in India or Ramadan in Middle East countries, Coca-Cola launches regional specific advertisement to emotionally connect with the customers. Nestle is also doing well in terms of this, like Cadbury, they are offering, or Maggie. When it comes to Raksha Bandhan or Diwali, they come up with a new ad every time with respect to the Cadbury. Okay, like Risto Ka Bandhan, and offering love and within the family. So these companies, they are best to discuss with respect to the brand management competencies. And like these companies, other companies also, they should develop these competencies among their employee when it comes to the brand management of the advertisement or marketing. Next is supply chain competency, which is also most important, like sourcing the raw material, managing the transportations, handling the customer regulations, and ensuring the timely delivery across countries. Company must therefore build efficient and the resilient global supply chain. Like we have seen in COVID-19 time, there are many companies, they failed miserably to manage the supply chain, even though company like Apple, they failed also. Otherwise, when Apple they launch one any smartphone or any their new model with respect to laptop like MacBook, within span of 7 to 10 days, that particular laptop or mobile phone that is available all over the world. But during Corona time, they failed at least a maximum to 3 months, even though sometime. Because supply chain were disrupted hugely, and that was the reason they expanded into another nations, including India also, apart from China, because at that time there were many issues they faced. So COVID pandemic, they clearly showed the importance of supply chain competency. Many companies, they faced the production shutdown, including Apple and Samsung or any other company also, because they depended heavily on the suppliers from a single country like China. In response, business started diversifying suppliers and creating more flexible supply chains. Companies like Toyota, they are famous for their efficient global supply chain system, which have helped them to maintain the quality and the operational efficiency worldwide. Apart from that, market research, legal and regulatory compliance, and risk management also important when it comes to the building the competency with respect to the international expansion. Like market research, we have discussed with respect to Walmart and IKEA. A company should know about the local customer engagement, local customer preferences, okay, regulatory compliances like Xiaomi, and any risk management if comes, then they should be able to handle that. If their employees are trained, then definitely these competencies will help them to mitigate all these kind of issues. Okay. So what kind of strategies they could be helpful for building all these competencies, including cultural sensitivity or human resource, technological competency, supply chain competency, brand management competency. Like first one to discuss is training and development program. Training and development program, these are very important for implementing the comprehensive training program that cover the international business practice, cross-cultural communication, global market dynamics, and that can empower the employees with the necessary skills and the knowledge. Cross-border experiences. Companies should also encourage their employees to participate in the international assignments, exchange, international projects, and secondments can provide hands-on exposure to global business environment. Mentorship and the knowledge transfer. Establishing mentorship programs where experienced international professional guide newcomers can accelerate the competency development also, where one should assign a mentor when a new join is there, or when some companies want to expand into another nation, they expatriate their employees, and they should be guided by a mentor so that the competency they also should develop. Continuous learning culture. A company should create a culture of continuous learning where employees and are encouraged to stay updated on global trends and industry development, which is essential to to do the business from global perspective. Global leadership development. Identifying and nurturing the future global leaders within the organization can ensure a talent pipeline for international expansion also. Like recently, Apple, they have find their new CEO, Chief Executive Officer, and Tim Cook might be retire in the late September 2026. Likewise, Air India in India, they are also starting the process of finding a Chief Executive Officer because the earlier Chief Executive Officer tenure is about to complete this year itself. Okay, so to finalize the global leadership development also most important when it comes to the globalization or when it comes to the developing the global competency. So let's discuss this one point which has been mentioned, in many books and which I feel important when it comes to discuss with respect to the training and development. So, what is the role of training and development with respect to the global competency? In a world where globalization is the norm rather than the exception, organization recognize the strategic imperative of developing the global competencies through training and development program. The key area to focus for the training and development program is the cultural intelligence, which is CQ, apart from the emotional intelligence or the IQ, intelligence quotient, global communication, problem solving, and the international market knowledge. So, fostering the cultural intelligence, as the example we have discussed with respect to America, Japan, Saudi Arabia, or India, the CQ is the ability to function effectively in the cultural diverse setting. It goes beyond simply recognize the cultural differences. It involves adapting and thriving in such environments. Training program, they play a crucial role in enhancing the CQ, cultural intelligence, cultural quotient, by providing the insight into the different cultural norms, values, communication styles, business etiquettes, and employee must learn to appreciate and navigate the nuisance of the cultural diversity. Enhancing the global communication skill. Effective cross-cultural communication is the cornerstone of successful global competence. It encompasses language proficiency, non-verbal communication, and the cultural negotiation techniques. Training initiatives should empower employees to communicate confidently and respectfully across the cultural boundaries. Language skills, in particular, are very important. These are invaluable assets in the international business interaction. Empowering the problem solving in decision making, this extend to the ability to address the complex challenges and make informed decision in a multicultural environment. Training should equip employees with the problem solving framework and strategies tailored to the international context. This could be involved like critical thinking, creativity, and the capacity to weigh cultural and the market factors when making the choice. Last one to discuss with respect to role of training and development in the global competencies, the mastering the international market knowledge with respect to advertisement or brand competency or technological capabilities. To navigate the global market successfully, employees need a deep understanding of the international market, trade regulations, and the global economic trends. Okay, and last slide to discuss today. Again, to add on with respect to the training and development, the competencies, what are the component of a effective training module? Like first one is the need assessment. Organizations should begin by conducting a thorough needs assessment to identify the gaps and determine the specific competencies required for the international endeavors. So to understand first one, the gap, and to find out what kind of training should be required, that is most important. Customize the curriculum as per the requirement, as per the need of the foreign nation, in which country you are working on, in which country you are providing the training or the development program of the employees of that particular nation. Training and development programs should be customized to align with the organization goal and the unique challenges posed by the international market. A one size fits all approach is insufficient in the global context. Experiential learning. Incorporate the experiential learning opportunities such as cross-border assignments, simulations, and the real world cases where employee will get the real kind of experience when it comes to the learning or development. This will help to lead the competency development and practical experience. This will enhance the learning outcomes also. Mentoring and coaching. this we have already discussed. And the feedback mechanism, this is also important. Continuous feedback and the evaluation mechanism that should be placed to track the progress and the refining the training program. Today we have discussed with respect to a unit third, the last topic, transaction cost theory, with respect to the different theories of the international business, with respect to the transaction cost for the different kind of form of business. And then we started unit 4, in which we have discussed about the global competencies, how to develop the global competencies, the importance of global competencies, and the training and development program for global competencies when a organization choose to go global or for going for the international business. So that's all from my side. If there is any question, you can ask, please. Harinder, Vijay, any question? चलिए, थैंक यू वेरी मच. मिलते हैं नेक्स्ट क्लास में, और नेक्स्ट क्लास में यूनिट 4 कंप्लीट करेंगे हम. सो थैंक यू वेरी मच फॉर ज्वाइनिंग.